Lesson 72, factoring trinomials in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. So first off, trinomials. Trinomials have three terms. So the polynomial x squared plus bx plus c is a trinomial because it has three terms. First term, the second term, the third term. Now the steps to factor these. The last term of the trinomial is found by multiplying the last terms of a binomial. So if I have a binomial like a plus b, and I have, let's just say a plus b here, the last term in each binomial, so this b times the b, is how you get your c. Now it's not going to make sense because I have letters involved with here, but if I multiply this times this, that will give us whatever value is here. The middle term is the sum of the last terms of the binomial. So if I add the last two, that will give us the middle term. And then the first term is found by squaring the first term. So the first term, you're just squaring that. So this will make more sense when we look at an example here. It says the polynomial x squared plus bx plus c is a trinomial. We want to factor these when c is positive. So I need to have two binomials. And since I have x squared, I need both binomials to have an x. Now to get 18, I need to find out two numbers that I can multiply 18 to get 18, but add them together gives me 9. Well, off to the side, maybe if you need to do, well, 18 times 1 gives us 18, 9 times 2 gives me 18, 6 times 3 gives me 18. Those are the only ones that add up to 18, or multiplying gives you 18. But which ones of those, if you add them together, gives you 9? Well, 6 plus 3 gives me 9, so I know that it's x plus 6 and x plus 3. Because 3 times 6 is 18, 6 plus 3 gives me 9. So this would be my factored trinomial as two binomials. The next one, need two binomials. First one, I look here, since I have an x squared, I know it has to begin with an x in both binomials. This back one, since the c is positive and the middle term is negative, that means I need to have two negatives in my binomials, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative plus a negative gives me a negative here. So I need to find two numbers. When I multiply them together, gives me 4. So let's do that. 4 times 1 gives us 4. 2 times 2 gives me 4. Now, since they both have to be negative, if I take a negative here and a negative here, and a negative here and a negative here, negative 4 times a negative 1 gives us a positive 4. But if I were to add them, a negative 4 plus a negative 1 gives us a negative 5. A negative 2 plus a negative 2 gives us a negative 4. So I need to look at which one adds up to a negative 5, and multiply it gives me a positive 4. That's these two numbers. So this would be a 4, and this would be a 1. So this would be my factored binomials. Next one, x squared plus 5x plus 6. So I have my two binomials. Since I'm squaring the x, I start each binomial with an x. What do I multiply to get 6, but add them together gives me 5? Well, I know that 6 times 1 is 6. But since everything in here is positive, I know this has to be a positive. And if I were to put a 6 here and a 1 here, 6 times 1 is 6, but 6 plus 1 is 7. So I know it cannot be 6 and 1. I know that 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 plus 3 is 5. So therefore, this has to be my factored trinomial. So this would be x plus 2 times x plus 3. And you can always double check by doing FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. Here's your x squared plus 5x plus 6. Next problem. Here, c is still positive. So I have my two binomials. Start with our x's. Two numbers to multiply to get me 15. So I know that 5 times 3 gives me 15. Since I need to have a positive c, but a negative middle, these both have to be negative because negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. Negative 5 plus a negative 3 gives me a negative 8. So that would be my answer. Next one, two binomials. Whatever the letters in the front squared, I just put that at the beginning of my binomials. What multiplies gives me 2, but add them together gives me 3. The only way to multiply to get 2 is 2 times 1. And since everything's positive, I need to have positive in my binomials. And the third one, put my x's down. What multiplies it gives me 16, but add them together gives me 10, negative 10. Well, I know that 8 times 2 gives me 16, and I know that I can add 8 and 2 to give me 10. But in order for it to be a negative 10, both of them have to be a negative. Because a negative 8 times a negative 2 is a positive 16. A negative 8 plus a negative 2 is a negative 10. Next one, c is negative. So we're going to do the same thing. Start with our x's here. Here now, since the c is negative, one of them has to be negative, the other one has to be positive. So what do we multiply to get negative 10, but add them together gives me a positive 3. So the bigger number has to be positive. So if I do 5, positive 5, and a negative 2, negative 2 times a positive 5 is a negative 10. Negative 2 plus 5 is a positive 3. So this would be my solution. Next one, put our x's down. Since we got a negative, we need a negative and a positive in order to get a negative c. But now I have a minus sign in the middle term. So that means the bigger number has to have a negative number. So what do I multiply to get negative 8? I can do 4 and 2, but if you add those together, that is going to be negative 7. I can do 8 and a positive 1, because negative 8 times 1 is a negative 8. And a negative 8 plus 1 gives me a negative 7. So this would be my answer. And this last one here, put our x's down. One's got to be negative, one's got to be positive. Middle term is negative, so my bigger number is negative. To get to negative 30, I know that negative 10 times a positive 3 is a negative 30. And negative 10 plus 3 gives me negative 7. So this would be my answer. Do more of those where the c is negative. Put our two parentheses down for our binomials, our x's. So the middle term is positive, so I need a bigger number positive, smaller number negative. To get 54, I know I have 9 and 6 to give me 54. 9 times a negative 6 is negative 54. 9 plus a negative 6 is a positive 3. So this would be my answer. So it helps knowing your math facts so you know what you can multiply and then add. If need be, just write it off to the side, some of your possible solutions. So I put my x's down. One's got to be negative, one's got to be positive. the bigger number has to be positive because the middle term is positive. So to get 12, I can do 2 and 6, because negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. Negative 2 plus 6 is a positive 4. If you would have tried 4 and 3, adding those two together doesn't, multiply gives you 12, but it doesn't, when you add them, 4 plus 3 gives you 7. So they can't work that way. Next one, binomials. So you have your x's, negative and a positive. Middle term is negative, so our bigger number has to be negative. In order to get 36, you could do 6 and 6. You can do 9 and 4. And I know that the difference between 9 and 4 is 5, so I know I'm going to be using 9. So 9 and 4. Negative 9 times 4 is negative 36. Negative 9 plus 4 is a negative 5. So this would be our binomials. Next one, when you have two variables involved with it. When we have two variables involved, that means when we have our binomials, we need to have an x at the beginning and we need to have a y at the end. And then we do everything else the same. Since everything's positive, we're going to be having plus signs in our binomials. So what do I multiply to get 6, but add them together gives me 5? Well, I know that 2 times 3 gives me 6, and 2 plus 3 gives me 5. And I can quickly check this doing FOIL. So there's your x squared. There's your plus 3xy. Here's your plus 2xy. Here's your 6y squared. These two make your 5xy. That's what you have. Here's your 6y squared, and there's your x squared. Next one, our two binomials. Starts with x, they end with y's. So I'm just looking at where they start, where they end. Since this is a negative sign, I know that one of them has to be negative. The other one has to be positive. The bigger number has to be positive because the middle term is positive. So in order to get negative 3, I need to have a positive 3 and a negative 1. Because negative 1 times positive 3 is negative 3. But a negative 1 plus 3 gives me a positive 2. So this would be my two binomials. Try another one. Starts with our x's, ends with our y's. Everything's positive, so I'll put two plus signs in here. To get 4 multiplied gives me 2 times 2. 2 plus 2 gives me 4. So this would be my binomials. Next one starts with our x's, ends with our y's. What do I multiply to get negative 18? Add them together gives me a negative 7. So I know 1 is negative, 1's positive. The bigger number is going to be negative because the middle term is negative. So to get my 18, I can do 18 and 1. I can do 9 and 2. I can do 3 and 6. The only one that has a difference of 7 is this middle one. This one has to be 9. This would have to be 2. So in order to get a negative middle number, the bigger number, 9, has to be with a negative. Then next one is rearranging terms before factoring. So I'll let you rearrange it, keeping the signs in front. So it's a positive x squared minus 4x minus 21. And now I can factor this. Where x is down, to get a negative, need one negative, one's positive. To get 21, I can do 7 and 3, or I can do 21 and 1. The only difference of 4 is 7 and 3, so this will be a 7, this will be a 3. Next one, rearrange positive x squared, positive 5x minus 24. Now I can factor them. To get negative 24, I got 24 and 1. I have 8 and 3. I have 6 and 4. And I have 2 and 12. The only one that has a difference of 5 would be 8 and 3. So which one's positive and which one's negative? Since the middle term is positive, the bigger number has to be positive. That means the 3 goes here. Some more examples. So we have x squared plus 12x plus 20. For our two binomials down, our x's. To get 20, I have 5 and 4. I got 2 and 10, and I got 20 and 1. Which ones add up to 12? The 2 and 10. Since everything is positive, I put my 2 plus signs, 2 here, 10 here. And it doesn't matter where the 2's and 10's go because they're both plus. So this would be our factored trinomial. Next one, x squared plus 7x minus 44. Our two binomials down. Our x's, one's positive, one's negative because the last term is negative. Bigger term or bigger number has to be positive because the middle term is negative or positive. So I can get 44 and 1 to get negative 40 to get 44. I can do 11 and 4. I can do 2 and 22. Which ones have a difference of 7? That would be 11 and 4. So this is 4. This would be 11. Next one, evaluate x squared plus 5x minus 14 and its factors for x equaling 3. So let's factor this. So I have x here, I got x here. One's got to be negative, one's got to be positive because we have a negative c here. Middle term is positive, so the bigger number is positive. You get 14, you got 14 and 1. You got 7 and 2. Those are the only ones. The only ones that has a difference of 5 is 7 and 2. So this would be 2. This would be 7. And so now its factors for x equals 3. So now check our factors. We have two binomials. So if we put 3 in for that, so now we have 3 in for x. So 3 minus 2. And we have 3 plus 7. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 plus 7 is 10. 1 times 10 equals 10. If we were to put 3 in for the binomial, we would have 3 squared plus 5 times 3 minus 14. This is 9 plus 15 minus 14. 9 plus 15 is 24. 24 minus 14 would give us 10. So they are the same, so we know that our work is correct. Next one, let's try this one. Factor. What do you multiply to get 52? Negative 52, but add them together gives us 9. So let's think for a little bit on what we can do to get 52. So if I did 52 divided by 2, that gives me 26. So I can do 26 and 2. 52 divided by 3 doesn't work. 52 divided by 4 works. So we could do 13 times 4 because that will give us 52. But if you notice here, this is a difference of 9, and that's what the middle term is. So one of them's got to be negative, one's got to be positive. The middle term is positive, so the bigger number has to be positive. So that's going to be a positive 13. This one's going to be a negative 4. Now to evaluate this, let's put 1 in for x. So 1 minus 4 times 1 plus 13. 1 minus 4 is a negative 3. 1 plus 13 is 14. So negative 3 times 14 gives us a negative 42. If I were to put that into a trinomial, 1 squared plus 9 times 1 minus 52. This would be 1 plus 9 minus 52. So 10 minus 52 gives us a negative 42. So factoring can also make doing the math a lot quicker because you see the factors for the trinomial. And the final problem, evaluate this one, x squared plus x minus 6, and its factors for x equals 4. Now factor this, we got our x's. Has to equal a negative number, so one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative. To get 6, we got 6 and 1, we got 2 and 3. Since the middle term is positive, the bigger number has to be positive. The only way to get 6, but add them together gives you a positive 1, would have to be 2 and 3 because that's the only one that has a difference of 1. The bigger number is 3, smaller number is 2. 3 times a negative 2 is negative 6. 3 minus 2 is a positive 1. So those are our binomials, which comes up with our two factors we use to come up with our answer here. So if I put a 4 in for x plus 3 times 4 minus 2, I get 7 times 2, which gives us 14. Then I have, if I plug it into here, I would have 4 squared plus 4 minus 6. So this is 16 plus 4 minus 6. 20 minus 6 gives us 14. So that's our lesson today on factoring trinomials in the form of x squared plus bx plus c.